This is DevOps in Agile Way podcast.
Hello there. Let's talk today about a topic which every single of us will experience and experienced in the past in your life, really. Interview. Many of us was interviewee for many times, I believe, and some of us was also the interviewer. I enjoy to be interviewer much more than being interviewee because our candidate, it's the reason is simple, right? My point here will be not to tell you how you should be prepared for the interview, how you should answer to interviewer questions, etc., etc. There are, tutorials for it. There are many people who are doing this kind of webinars, workshops, or trainings. They are much more better than me, so I will not, try. Only one suggestion from my side will be yourself, okay? Because experienced interviewer will quickly see that you behave a little bit not like you. It is really something what can be seen by interviewer. I've done a lot of interviews in my life, especially in my time at IPAM. I really loved to do that, because this is a very interesting piece of work. You know new people, you learn who they are, what they can do, what is their story, and how they can fit your organization. And this is also a very important element of being the interviewer. You need to like it, because if you don't like it, the candidate also will feel it, okay? And it's not easy thing to do interviews and to like interviews, really, because for many of engineers, for many of us, doing the interview is seen like a waste of time. I should code in this time, right? And the interview itself, it's not just the time needed for talking with the candidate, but also to prepare yourself for it, because surprise, you should be prepared, and then to write feedback, sometimes even to go again through the recording, etc., etc. I want to start a small war, because we can see very often, especially on LinkedIn, but not only, some lists, documents, almost books. The 100 questions and answer for AWS engineer interview, the best answers for the DevOps interview, the questions for the CI/CD interview, etc., etc., etc. And you know what? It's bullshit. Let's be honest. It is bullshit. The only one reason why I could look inside is to see what is there. What kind of technologies, what kind of problems maybe I can see on interview. I can be asked. But staying just with that is very wrong to do. The questions there are limited to a few, honestly speaking. They are very theoretical. Even if the question in this tutorial is to how to create pipeline in Jenkins, and the answer is you need to click here, there, etc., etc., etc. Honestly speaking, when I am the interviewer, I don't care how to create pipeline in Jenkins. I will start, what is CI/CD? What is the difference between CI and CD? Where CI ends and CD starts? What is the difference between CD and CD? How to scale CI/CD? How to approach the whole process? What is the branching strategy? What is the deployment strategy? What is the impact of branching strategy on deployment strategy? How should I codify it? I will start there. And then we are touching just the tool. 2 episodes ago, I said that DevOps is not about the tools. And this is reflected really in my type of, or how I do the interviews. The same with cloud. I will start, let's say, not with question, what is cloud? Because everyone knows that. But how do you think? Why today so many companies are migrating to cloud? What are the benefits? Second element, of course, I go through the CV of the candidate. I know what to ask. I know what to expect I know more or less the history of the candidate, and I can stay somehow in the topics which this person did in the past. For me as an interviewer, there is no reason to ask this guy about things which he or she didn't do in the past. It's useless. And if I ask about something what candidate doesn't know, I expect to hear, I didn't touch this technology, I don't know. But there is no period here. Okay? What I expect also to hear is, but I had this kind of project and I can tell you about this. First of all, you need to be yourself. You need to tell the truth, because the experienced, seasoned interviewer will see that you try to just make things up, and be proactive. So this is my advice from the candidate perspective. And from the interviewer perspective, the important part of our jobs as interviewers is to create safe environment. Because being interviewed by someone, sometimes even by two people, so you are already, in defense because there are two people against single you, it's stressful situation for the candidate. Of course, I'm not saying that you need to say about your name, blah, blah, blah. This is obvious, right? But you need to create the safe and, let's say, happy environment for the candidate. Explain the process, what you will do during the interview, how the interview will look. Very in short. So, for example, when I start, I explain who I am. Of course, we have a little chat on the beginning, just flush the atmosphere. I introduce myself, I'm saying who I am, then I explain what will happen, right? That I expect that you will tell me about yourself, then we will have like a question-answer session, then you have a time to ask me the questions, and on the end I explain what will happen next. Also to make sure that the candidate will be not left in the empty space. The important part is this part about the question answer. Please remember one thing. It's not a quiz. It's not a kind of competition. Who is smarter, you or the interviewee? I always say, as an interviewer, I am able always to prove that I am smarter than the candidate. Always. But this is not my goal. My goal is to know better this person, to say, yes, I want to work with him, no, I don't. Here are her strong sides and weak sides, and my recommendation. I need to learn more about the person, not to prove that I am smart enough. And I always follow this. And I think that is quite successful approach, because I had a lot of feedbacks where people said that it was the best interview in their lives. Some clothing right now. I think that it's very important that we not do the interview in the way that it's really the question answer, right? What is Linux? What kind of Linux distributions you know? How to list files? How to list full information about file? How to create file? How to create a directory? It's not the point. I'm not asking about commands. Of course, sometimes I do. But my interview is not focused on commands. My interview is focused on the approach, on the thinking process, how the candidate thinks. Even better, if the person didn't touch some technology, let's say deeper, I'm really interested in how this person will approach to the problem, like troubleshooting, for example. What I prefer is to go through the scenario. That is why I cannot prepare myself, learn all questions which I will ask. Because in this case, when I go through the scenario, it is really a challenge for me as well. Because I have a scenario in my mind, of course. For example, in your infrastructure, you have 100 web services, right? And your client just said to you that sometimes, from time to time, he received 500. How you will approach to this? To find out what's going on. And depending on the answer, I need to adjust the next step to the answer. That's why I cannot have that like a prepared set of questions. And this is also a very good scenario to show and check the maturity of the person. Because it's a kind of open approach which can fit everyone, and everyone, junior and ninja, right? From junior to ninja, can answer to this question. But the answers will be different. And based on the answer, you can build the story further. So generally, when I do the interviews for DevOps, I'm more interested in the processes. I'm more interested in the approach. Also, what we need to ask is like a people aspect, because this is a very important part of DevOps work. Therefore, we cannot forget about this. And again, please remember, this is not the competition. This is not the challenge. This is not the way to make you feel better because you are smarter than the candidate. You've proved him after the 156th question that he doesn't know what is in specific cell of the memory in the kernel of some version of Linux. And always, this is the last thing, give the feedback to the candidate. What was good, what was wrong, or maybe not wrong, what is needed to be improved. As a candidate, please remember one thing. Interviewers are not stupid. They see if you are looking in Google for something. They see if you have any external, let's call it external help. I had a lot of interviews when I saw that the person is looking for something in Google and try to hidden it somehow. If you don't know, say I don't know, but let me just Google one thing. This is the thing which I'm Google to just remind myself. Personally, I'm okay with that. Okay, not for every single question, but I'm okay with that. I had it's really funny because I had like once an interview where the candidate had external help, the guy who is telling him the answers. And unlucky for this guy, the connection, the internet connection was not the best. I didn't have very good mic at that time, and I didn't ask like expected questions. So the candidate every single time asked me to repeat the question, to give the time to the second guy to search for the answer. You can expect how it ends, right? So please remember, the interview is something what works in two ways. You are evaluating the candidate, but also the candidate is evaluating you and the company. Yeah, it may happen that you find the best possible candidate, but your performance during the interview was so poor that these candidates will say no thank you. So please avoid that. And with this bombshell, I will leave you now. Thank you very much for listening to this episode. I would like to hear your approach to interviews, really. So share with me in comments, share with me in private messages if you don't want to comment the episode. I really like to know how you do the interviews. What was your biggest mistake? What was your biggest success as a candidate, as a interviewer? Thank you very much. See you in next episode.
Thank you for listening to this episode of DevOps in Agile Way podcast with your host, Pavel Pivosh. Subscribe, comment, and do not forget to check our next episodes. Stay tuned. Stay safe. Stay curious.